Hello everyone, good evening. It's 11:20 Alaska time. It's still super light out. I again will be battling mosquitoes to make this video. If you're new here, I've just been sharing my personal journey from using Botox to now being a face yoga practitioner, or using face yoga or doing face yoga. If you missed the first two episodes, they're available on my IGTV. They're in a series, Botox to face yoga. You're more than welcome to watch that, and I'll give you a little brief overview of what we've covered so far and get into what the topic is today. And the topic is talking about my face yoga journey. So if you missed the previous two, I started by talking about how I was exposed to Botox, the research that I did, how it works. It's a neurotoxin, so it prevents the muscle from contracting, and in doing so, it blocks the inability of that muscle to have the ability to contract. So it will also atrophy, and lose basically power, kind of like a limb or body part would if it was in a cast. So it will lose volume in addition, right? If you have weak muscles, usually your muscles are quite small. As you have stronger muscles, they get larger. Okay, so we all understand that principle. Now, then yesterday we talked about why I stopped, and maybe the single experience that was the reason why I stopped Botox surprised you. If you didn't see that video, you can go back and watch it. But basically, there was something that I tapped into that made me realize that I wanted to have full expression of my face. I wanted to be able to make wrinkles or do whatever, right? That's a very childlike thing, to have full expression of your face, youthful thing. And in addition, I didn't want to look like everyone else. I wanted to look like me. Might have a little bit of rain. Time to test out this waterproof camera. So getting into today, which is how I got into face yoga. I've done yoga since 2002, which is when I was a freshman in college. I'm 36 now. And most of my yoga has been Kundalini, Ashtanga, and then a little Anusara as well. And I never heard of face yoga. I know that's something that they do in Kundalini, and I guess my practice just never got that deep. Now, the other thing that you may or may not know about me is that I am a professor of anatomy and physiology. So while I talk to you about face yoga, I'm going to give you a brief overview of how and why it works from an anatomist or a physiologist point of view. So our muscles are attached to our bone through three different attachments. There's one where the muscle attached through like a dense amount of connective tissue, and we call that a tendon, right? So a lot of our larger muscles are attached to bone through this connective tissue that we call a tendon. We can also have a broad sheath of connective tissue, a tendony connective tissue, but we call that an aponeurosis. So it's a broad attachment that's also made for strong muscle tissue. We have aponeuroses on our head and down our abdomen, and also along our latissimus dorsi in the back. The third way, or third and fourth way, I should say, that muscles attach to our bone is directly, right? They can just directly attach to our bone. Usually that's reserved for weak muscles. And technically there will be a little bit of connective tissue between the muscle and the bone. And then the other one that they attach is directly into our skin. And we see most of those muscles in our face because the muscles in our face are quite small. They travel a short distance and they're relatively weak. They're not big muscle groups like we have in our arms or our legs or our butt, right? So the mechanism of face yoga and how it works is that you are strengthening the muscles in your face by contorting them, stretching them, elongating them, creating some isometric contractions, and maybe even pinning muscles in a location and then to create resistance and then pulling against them, right? So it makes perfect sense from a science point of view. Now, again, like I said, I hadn't heard of face yoga until last fall, and I think I started following Nikki before I joined Angela Sumner's business mastermind, because I saw her handle, which is nikki.faceyoga.tv. And I thought, that's a strange handle. I've never seen a handle like that. Like, I wonder, is face yoga a thing? And what's with the TV thing? And so I started following her, and I was really intrigued. And then before you knew it, I was in a business mastermind with her. And from there, that led me to do a private with her. And doing the private face yoga session was probably one of the most fun things ever, because it was serious and it was something I'd never done before. And it was also ridiculously silly, like so silly and playful and fun. And yet at the same time, it felt so grounding, so me. And I couldn't believe that this is what I was doing. So I know how muscles work, and I know that you can't just say, oh, I'm going to have big muscles, and then the next day you have big muscles. It's something that takes time and effort to tell your body, I need you to put effort here. I need you to put energy here. I need you to do this. And so since this past fall, so fall of 2019, I have been doing, or I shouldn't say fall, I should say like October, November of 2019, because I know some of you in the southern hemisphere, it would be spring, but I started just doing face yoga as much as I could, incorporating it into my routine when I would wake up in the morning or right before I go to bed, like laying in bed. And I wouldn't necessarily do a whole lot. Some days I would do her video practice, but I always did a little bit. And if you haven't seen my before and after photos, you can go check them out on my Instagram. I have a highlight reel. It just says #faceyoga, and you can see kind of my 10-month progress. But there's been a lot of progress and volume in my forehead, where I had a bunch of atrophied muscle, right? And then you also see fullness happening around my eye, right? My nasolabial fold isn't as drastic, things like that. So it's definitely working, but it does take a little bit of effort. But you don't have to defeat yourself over it. So right now in my life, I'm subscribing to the something is better than nothing philosophy. And I have another video about that, all or nothing versus something is better than nothing. You're more than welcome to check that out on IGTV as well. So I would absolutely recommend face yoga to anyone who's interested. It's really silly and fun. It gives you a sense of yourself, or it gave me a sense of myself that I didn't have before. And it really made me aware of how I am expressing myself to the people around me and to the world. So if you're interested, Nikki has a boot camp. I just did that boot camp. It was the best money I've ever spent. Her boot camp probably cost the equivalent of like one Botox session. So, I mean, it's a huge benefit. And the other thing I didn't talk about today, but I do use, and Nikki talks about, is gua sha, which is essentially facial massage. Maybe I'll talk about that at another date. But the boot camp is fantastic. You don't have to do a one-on-one. She does have a very personalized approach. And I really enjoyed it. And you'll have access to it in the future. So I know she has that starting up soon. I'm not sure when. This is not a promotional thing. This is not an ad. This is just me sharing my experience so that you might have a wonderful experience too. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to DM me, leave a comment, share it, whatever you want. So have a great evening, and I'll talk to you later.